We are live. This is PitchDeck Asia. Graham Brown in the studio with Asia's ultimate matchmaker, Anisa Hassan. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
Excellent. Well, put this into context. We had a bit of a competition on International Women's Day to help give a voice to female founders. There's not enough of you out there, is there? There are a few. There's a growing number, but the media tends to not give you the benefit of the doubt. Shine the spotlight more on the men. So we gave away a golden ticket for the first woman who would put in the comments on LinkedIn her pitch, and you were there.
Yes, I was. It was being at the right time and with the right opportunity, and I've been preparing for this for a very long time, so it was just wonderful to win the ticket.
Well, great for you. No, well done as well. I mean, I think also great lesson in taking initiative, seizing opportunity whilst it's there. And I think that reflects in your pitch deck as well. You've got a great pitch deck, by the way. I'm looking forward to going through that. And you are going to be at our event on the 20th of March as well. So I'm sure investors will be looking forward to having a chat with you as well. So maybe we can start at the top. I did say you were the ultimate matchmaker without qualifying that. So maybe we can do that. I mean, I'm going to read it on your profile. I mean, you've got to read Anisa's LinkedIn profile. I'm going to read it word for word, verbatim here. It says, Asia's ultimate matchmaker, helping high-flying singles find love in a safe and discreet way. And your intention is to create 1 million
marriages worldwide.
Well, how far are you down that path?
From what I can gather, based on the feedback that my clients have given me, I'm on that 1,000 mark.
Oh, excellent.
Since, for the last 14 years.
Right. So you've facilitated 1,000 marriages.
Already.
How many invites did you get?
Oh, I can't even remember right now. Yeah, too many to remember. But the first marriage took place about 6 months after I launched my matchmaking service.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And so, I mean, you've been in matchmaking for a long time, right?
That's
so we're going to talk about Joompa, obviously. So we're going to go there, look at your pitch deck. Obviously, it's a newish business in your career of matchmaking, but you've been on the matchmaking scene for many years.
That's correct.
So I'm very interested and curious about your experiences and what you think is broken in that industry as well, because that's really what we've got to start. Let's start with the Joompa market that you operate in. Yes. So I will jump around your pitch deck a little bit. I won't go in sort of sequential order. I'll pick out the points and then we can maybe sort of talk through some of them. So if we can jump back into the pitch deck, Barrett, if you can we sort of jump to slide 4, where we start with the market side? If you can just sort of scroll us down. Let's go down to one slide, if we can, Barrett, to the next one here. Slide 4, this is a solution. Oh, is it me? Okay, no, it's you. Yeah, so scroll us down. So number 4, market definition. Yeah. To help us understand, great slide here. And if you're listening to the audio version of this, maybe you can be a bit descriptive because they won't have the benefit of seeing the infographic here. So what is the market that you're in?
So do you know, Graham, that there's almost 50 million Muslim singles out there who are looking for ways to overcome their loneliness, yet there is no alternative or viable dating or matchmaking solutions out there for them. Being Muslim singles, they do, whether they are modern or whether they're traditional in Southeast Asia, they are looking for specific requirements in dating apps that the current mainstream ones are not getting.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's 50 million in Southeast Asia.
In Southeast Asia.
Is it a Muslim problem? Because traditionally, is dating encouraged, or is, the existing routes maybe through families and connections and so on? Maybe you can. I'm not a Muslim. Obviously, I have Muslim friends, but help us understand.
Yeah, this is the beauty of being in the Muslim market because we are so diverse. Some go through the modern route, so they do dating the mainstream dating apps. Yeah. But what we have done with Joompa is we have integrated components or features that are important and unique for Muslim singles. But yet, I'm very conscious of the fact that it has to be inclusive. Yeah. Whereas other Muslim dating apps out there are very, very exclusive. What I've done is, this is like, if you can imagine being at the halal buffet. You know, the target audience definitely for the Muslims, but you know, you can have a good meal with the non-Muslims who don't mind being there with their Muslim friends. So it's very inclusive. I have included components and criteria that are important for Muslim singles, whether they are modern or whether they have a traditional outlook in dating. Touching on dating, we don't do dating the way that the modern people are doing it. I think there is also that component where we do Muslim courting rather than Muslim dating.
You mean outside of your app or within your app?
In the Muslim demographics in general.
Right. Okay, so generally they court.
They court.
Right. More of a sort of like a traditional view of dating, right? Taking time and more out in the open and public, I suppose, as well, isn't it? So.
Right. So, you know, that the fun component of meeting a possible spouse one-on-one, sometimes it's okay for certain types of Muslims and others it's not that okay. So that's why I've created Joompa and to make the facilitation of that meeting or that courting easier.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Well, let's sort of dive in. You've already mentioned what the problem is. So maybe we can just, I know you've got a great slide here. We can get back into the pitch deck on slide 2. So if we go right back to the top, if we can have a look at that on slide 2, the problem with the current dating challenges. You haven't just talked about Muslim problems here. Now you're talking more about the generic problems of dating as well.
The modern dating app.
Yeah. So, I mean... Okay, we were chatting as well that you got married, and like I got married almost 20 years ago. Yes. I mean, you're ahead, 21 years ago.
21 years.
Dating apps back then were non-existent, really. So I don't know as a user what the challenges are. So maybe you can explain to me. What's it like out there for people dating through apps and online and so on?
Well, I've been in the dating space or matchmaking space for the last 15 years. The challenges with dating among the Muslim singles are a little bit more dire in that sense because they feel that there's no alternative dating apps out there. It has evolved, you know. 20 years ago when we were out dating, I think, you know, it's a matter of being in the right environment. I met my husband in school, you know, or you either meet your significant other in a work environment. But once you reach 30 or 40s, and for some of them who want to re-enter the dating scene, there is this fear that, you know, either you're going to lose your privacy, you know, when you go online and start dating, or there isn't any good men or good women out there. You know, so where do you look? Yeah. So the current modern dating apps are not addressing safety and security issue adequately. Right. I feel that they are very concerned about getting the user base, right? So, and that comes at a price. So they forego the element of safety and security at the get-go so that they can have the critical mass. And you need critical mass in order to do a good match.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, on that point, does the fact that it's Muslim as a dating app, and, you know, you understand this better than anybody else, and the fact that because it's not as mainstream in the Muslim community, sort of, you know, more modern dating, does that mean the kind of people who have traditionally come to dating apps are sort of more on the edges of sort of like the bell curve of
the fringes
behavior, that sort of thing? Because, you know, obviously dating globally has become so accepted now.
Yes.
Like, you know, even swipe left, swipe right on your mobile phone. Like 20 years ago, it was a bit sort of an odd thing, wasn't it? It was like you did that if you were a bit of a loser, right? Or you were really desperate. But now it's just the default. Everybody does it. So the fact that it's not so encouraged or accepted in the Muslim community, does that mean it's harder to get that mass together?
So almost 50% of singles worldwide would have tried online dating apps or know somebody who has done dating online. So it has become more mainstream. It is not that the Muslims do not want to meet people, you know, through dating apps. It's just that the ones out there are not fulfilling the criteria or the requirements that they look for in a dating app. So, you know, they value their privacy. They value issues that are very pertinent to their Muslim culture or Muslim upbringing. So the ones out there or the Muslim apps that are out there are very exclusive in nature, meaning, you know, they are very traditional. Whereas for me, because I've done the mainstream route for the last 14 years, I know what worked and what didn't work. So I have, through my algorithm, I have integrated 14, 15 years of my own experience in terms of what works, what doesn't work, as well as including now the Muslim requirement components, like, questions like, do you pray 5 times a day? Do you fast during Ramadan? Do you have tattoos on your body? Do you want to have children, right? And because some of them do not meet physically, or they don't want to meet physically from the get-go, there's that term that we use is halal or permissible dating. What's permissible. So usually it involves the community, or it involves their parents in the matchmaking or the decision-making process. So that's why I have features that I've inbuilt into the system to make it easier for them to get the green light, the go-ahead from their parents or people who matter to them.
Yeah. So I don't, at the risk of sounding stupid and culturally unaware, can users then sort of switch on and switch off how halal they want the dating to be? So obviously you say that people have got more sort of orthodox backgrounds, for example. They may want it done by the strict interpretation.
Yes.
How does that work?
So we give you that control. So you can answer them, or you don't have to answer them. But that's why, I have combined both elements to make it more acceptable, not just to the mainstream or modern Muslims, but to the traditional ones as well.
Right, because they're all going to have different interpretations, what's right for them as well.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. You've said it a few times, and it's important to go there. You have come through the mainstream route, as you call it. What was that? What was your sort of experience in dating? Because it's quite a long experience as well. You know it better than anybody else. Not just Muslim dating, but you know the whole industry. How was that for you?
Oh, it's been exciting. It's been interesting. I meet lots of different people, but at the core of every person that I meet is that need to overcome their loneliness. So whether they are single, never married, divorced, or widowed, they are looking. They feel that their life can be more complete if they have that special somebody that they can go back to.
Right.
So at the core of it, it is a people business. It is a human interaction, and chemistry happens face to face.
Absolutely.
So I'm the first person that they're going to have a relationship with. I must like them as an individual, because only then do I get to do a good job for them. So there have been many cases of knowing that, this person is such a great catch, but he or she doesn't know how to put himself or herself out there. So I'm the intermediary, I'm the facilitator who will share their story with the other person that or whom we are going to match them with. So because everybody comes with a story, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you're in the right place.
Yeah, so there's a founder story and there's a single story.
Yeah.
So the single
not too different. We're all pitching, so
that's right. Yeah. So what I do is, I try to get the essence of who they are, why they're finding it so difficult to date on their own, and this is to also challenge that notion that they are losers or they are single and desperate. None of that. I think many of them come to me because they are busy with their professional lives.
Aren't we all? Exactly.
Yes.
That's the problem, isn't it?
That's right.
I'm too busy for dating.
Yes. Or they get dating fatigue sometimes, swiping and going out with.
Or they have a couple of bad experiences.
Bad
and that's
experiences.
It. Yeah, all men are X, or all women are that.
That's
so
right.
Exactly.
We live in an environment where almost everybody is pigeonholed into a certain type, right? But when they come to me in the last 14, 15 years, they get to share their story.
Right.
And I get to bring them their values or their strength as an individual and share that with the other person. So it takes time. There's a lot of time that I invest in pulling out their story and sharing it with the other person. So I come with that level of trust and comfort, that they can have a wing woman speaking out for them.
Excellent. It's almost like, I see the parallels a lot with, startup founders without sort of trying to force it into the analogy. But a lot of people aren't very good at, telling their story because nobody's ever sat down and asked them about it. And maybe people aren't used to it, especially here in Asia. And I also find, especially for females here in Asia, it's not often that somebody gives them a microphone or asks them to sell themselves or talk about what they do,
That's true.
Whereas if you go to America, it's, every vacation they come back and they're doing, like 30-minute pitches about their vacations and so on. So culturally as well, that whole sort of aspect of talking about yourself, for those who are sort of outside Asia and looking in, that's a key sort of thing they may not understand so well. And that may be more of a Muslim thing than anything, right? Because I imagine if you're a Muslim and female, that's sort of almost more to that extreme, right?
Yeah, the opportunity gets less and less when you feel that you come from a less advantaged or marginalized space. But I've never felt that way.
I detect that, which is great, because then you're the voice for them.
That's
so
right.
You're speaking for a lot of people who, and I think this is really great because when investors look at startup founders as well, obviously there's a group of startup founders who are the young kids straight out of Stanford, and they're going to create the next billion-dollar app. Fine, those guys are cool. But there's a whole sort of group of people who are at a certain stage of life who have sort of 20 years experience of whether working in a corporate, they're the corporate dropouts, but they know what's broken. Or like yourself, you know people's pain points. You empathize with them, right? You've had many, many years of sitting, listening to these stories, right? So you understand them more than anybody, and you have that empathy with people who are dating, and that's priceless if you can translate that into an app, into a service. That's what people are looking for, because you've walked in their shoes, so to speak. You've understood. People have sat with you and talked quite openly, I guess, about their challenges.
They open their hearts. So what I was doing, what I intend to do, is to have a repeatable, duplicatable system where I can repeat my success, and scale the business. Because if I were to do it on the offline route, the result or the impact is not as rapid as it was if it was on a tech platform. So
because it's just you.
It was just me, and I'm limited by my time.
We haven't discovered cloning yet, right? So there we go. So this is the next best thing.
Yes.
All right, well, maybe we can have a look at your solution then. If we can jump back into the pitch deck, and we can have a look at the third slide in the pitch deck. And actually talk a little bit. I know you talk about you've got a competitive landscape as well of the, of your market.
Yeah.
So maybe we start with the solution first.
Yeah.
Help me understand, how are you doing this differently to everybody else?
So what we want is to integrate a system of safety and trust and honesty right off the bat. So from the get-go, we encourage our users and subscribers to get verified. So what that means is that they have to share information with us to make sure that they are who they claim to be. Because this is one way where we can mitigate, if not eliminate, catfishing. And what I mean by that is people creating online profiles that are fake.
Right.
And
how much of that is a problem in dating?
In dating, almost 50 to 60%
is fake.
Yep. You know that 30% of Tinder users are married.
Right. Wow. Is that true?
It is. It's documented. It's well documented. So what we want is to, give a new platform where people can feel safe, and we want the users to date responsibly, ethically, by making the platform clean and, ethical.
Yeah. So how do you verify?
So from the get-go, we ask for certain documentation, and so there's a
physical documentation.
There's some
like
physical documentation that's needed that makes them more dateable. So we verify them.
Okay. Yeah. Right. A bit like with Airbnb, isn't it? They ask you, and you have certain levels that go with the verification.
Precisely. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So and there's also facial recognition.
Yeah.
So the pictures and the images that you put online have to be physically matching the person who will be logging in.
Okay. So is that an issue in other dating apps that fake? I mean, you talk about fake profiles, but fake pictures. I mean, I can go and grab Brad Pitt, put it on my profile. That nobody would ever know.
That's right. So when they are logging in, we also encourage them to go through the facial recognition process to make sure that this is something that we can verify right off the bat. Yeah. And there's no surprises and there's no uncertainty. Yeah. So what you see is what you get.
So how have people reacted to that? Because it may appear on the surface a little bit invasive. I'm sort of almost like filling in my passport here.
Yeah. So it's a trade-off, right? So some people want the ease of signing up, but that also means that you're letting in the fraudsters, the people who are out there to just scam other, well-meaning people online. So that's a trade-off that I was willing to make, because I was very clear from the get-go that I want this to be an ethical platform, a safe platform, where you don't have to worry that the person you're going to meet is whether he or she is the person that they claim to be. Yeah. Yeah. So there are a few steps that are added on that doesn't make it so easily accessible from the get-go, but that's how we control the level of safety. Right? Yeah, from the get-go. So from the outset, if you set the tone right, I think people will not find that an impediment. Rather, they find that as important, if not critical step for them to ensure that once they are in the system, they are meeting real like-minded good singles just like them.
Yeah, real singles rather than that 30% claim to be. So in that case, I mean, it sounds like word of mouth is going to be essential to the growth of this business, because if you're focused on value and quality, people are going to recommend, you know, you should get on this app because, you know, I met him there, or, you know, what about these people? You know, I know my cousin or somebody I work with would be great for this app.
Yeah.
Therefore, word of mouth may take longer. It's more of an organic play.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you know, like you say, you've been quite strict with controlling this.
Yes.
So that's, I mean, I suppose I'm jumping ahead a little bit with the marketing plan of the business, but I guess you're sort of building in the quality, you're baking in the marketing early on into this model,
right from the beginning. So this was from being in the business for 14 years. So 40% of my business has always come from referrals and word of mouth. So people are fearful that, oh, what about the attrition rate? What if you're so successful, you're so good that people get out of your service or get off your platform quickly? I said, that's good, because that's when we get word of mouth. So rather than people stay and then meet online fraudsters or scammers. So what is the price that you're willing to pay? So I'd rather be effective right from the get-go. And that's why our platform, or our matchmaking platform, is going to be a paid subscription platform. Unlike the many mainstream dating apps out there which are offering their access for free.
Right.
Ours is a paid subscription right off the bat. So this will weed out the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah, right. Okay, so it's a subscription platform. How much would I pay as a user?
It's we are still working with the numbers, but I think it wouldn't cost more than a venti at Starbucks for a month.
Okay, so about $7 or $10.
Yes.
$10? More, 15?
Below $10 per month. Yeah, less than $10 per month.
Okay.
Yeah.
The key probably there is the fact you've asked them to open their wallets, and that in itself weeds out a lot of time wasters. Right?
That's right.
You know, that can have an amazing impact on that sort of percentage of people, not the insidious ones, the troublemakers, but also the people who are just time wasters. The fact you've asked them to pay. How many users do you have now?
Oh, great question. So we soft launched it in May in 2018, and so far we have 12,000 downloads and 7,000 monthly active users, and generally they come from Singapore and Malaysia. Right.
Is that 7,000 paid?
No, at this point of time, we are giving it for free because, like I said, we're testing. It's still at the beta testing. We soft launched it. We were working through the bugs and the maintenance issues. So I don't dare to charge anything at this point of time.
Enough.
But when we launch it, and that's after Hari Raya.
Right. When will that be?
That's somewhere in June.
Right.
Yeah. So I know that once they start visiting during Hari Raya, they'll be asked, how come you're still single?
Yeah.
So that's when we launch
Here's
them.
Come on. So every auntie, every friend then becomes like a word of mouth. Yeah.
That's right. And that's the way that the Muslims date. You know, it's through recommendations from their family members. And people are generally, it's community led. You know, they want you to be happy. They want you to be in real relationships. So they will make recommendations to you.
Excellent. Okay, so we've got an idea of the solution. You talked a little bit about the competition. Are you a technologist in any way? I mean, where do you stand with that? Because I know you're a builder in many senses. You're creating things, right? How are you with technology?
I am work in progress. Wow. I realized that once I started moving from offline to online, there was a steep learning curve that I have to be on, and that was very exciting for me. I am not a techie at all. Initially, I call myself a techno retard. I know nothing about tech, but now, I'm a founder of a tech company.
Yeah. Welcome. So who built the platform?
Yeah. So I have a friend who was in the media space with me for a very long time.
Yeah.
So he is the tech person. He is working with me to translate my ideas and interpret it into workable solutions. So he's a friend from the media. When I started as a journalist, and then I moved into entrepreneurship in the later part of my career. So he has been a friend for quite a while, and he understands me. He has seen my growth in the matchmaking space, so he understands a lot of the things that I'm trying to solve. But sometimes, to translate that, there's a lot of gaps in understanding, and once you implement it only I will know whether it is working according to how I have envisioned it to be. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I do have my friend who is in the tech space who's helping me build this wonderfully.
Yeah, good. We're going to have a look at your team in a minute. You've got a slide about that, but we won't go there. I just want to. There's so many questions I want to ask you. One about the 7,000 users that you have. Look, you say that you weren't a techie. You even describe yourself as tech retard. I think you're underselling yourself a little bit there. But you've been testing this for what we now are nearly 9-10 months.
Yeah, since last year in May.
So okay, and you'll be launching just after your anniversary as well. Your 1 year anniversary.
Yes, that's correct.
So what have you learned in the process? What do you know now about a tech-based dating platform that you didn't know when you started out, given that you had a lot of experience in dating yourself? What have you learned in that process with the 7,000, that sort of constant testing and iteration and so on?
Yeah, I think I have to keep up with the evolution of technology, right? So initially I thought certain things are not important at the get-go, but now I feel more and more that, we've introduced a video function, a video feature, where in the past, in the first beta, we didn't have any of that. But now I feel that having a video function is really, really important, and people are using more and more videos these days.
Yeah.
You would know. People are using podcasts or videos to get to the heart of the matter. So for me, in order to to engage and involve the users and the subscribers, having the video function is going to be key, critical, because as I mentioned earlier, not everybody wants to meet physically. So having the video allows them to get to know each other, or to Joompa. Joompa means to meet in the Malay language.
Okay.
Yeah, to meet each other and ask questions and not waste time.
So it's like video messaging? They send a video?
No, it's not sending videos. It's live.
Oh, okay.
Live streaming.
And they connect through the platform?
They connect through the platform, and they can, engage their chaperone as well. If the lady requires a chaperone to be around, the video function allows for that.
So you can have 3 people in a conversation?
3 or 4 people.
4 people. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, obviously that would be relevant to a lot of communities as well, where you can't date one-on-one, right?
Yes, you can't date one-on-one, or you prefer not to at the get-go. So it's only with, so that will be incorporating the halal or permissible element, that you have to get to know the person. You have to find something that's mutually compatible. So in order to save them time, instead of meeting outside and in an environment that may be unsafe, meet on the platform first. Ask questions, and then only when there are mutual respect and mutual interest from each other, then you can take it to the offline space.
Yeah, interesting. It's fascinating. Have you found that the users as well have used it in ways which you haven't sort of preempted? Because often when you build a platform, there's a very sort of core behavioural parameters which you're giving them the tools to do a certain thing, like you say, just meet or do the video calls with each other. But sometimes you find that some users take it in interesting directions. Have you seen any of that develop yet with the 7,000? Have you seen sort of any insights, thought, wow, this is really interesting?
I see a lot of men sending mass messages.
Okay. I apologise on behalf of males everywhere.
So sometimes, the proposition of some other dating app is the women must initiate the conversation. But for me, is whoever is interested can always initiate.
Is that how it is in some dating apps?
In some dating apps.
Is that a Muslim thing? Or
No, it's not a Muslim thing. It's some of the mainstream dating apps would only,
That's not fair.
You can only communicate if the women initiate the conversation. Yeah,
wow.
You can show interest, but the women must also say yes. So for us, anybody can initiate the conversation because you know that you're going into the platform for the same objective.
Right.
You want to be in a serious relationship that could lead to marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anybody can initiate, but from the last few months that I have noticed from the back end is that they don't know how to initiate conversation. So that's why I've also integrated some games before they start meeting each other.
Yeah.
So they answer a series of questions, right? Like cats or dog. Are you a cat person? Are you a dog person? Are you a mountain person? Are you a sea person? Yeah. So those kinds of things can actually help them initiate a conversation. So I know that, how they start the conversation is usually with a greeting like salam, assalamu alaikum, but then they don't know how to move from there.
Yeah, there's a big gap between step 1 and step 10, right?
That's right. And how do you say, I like you? They don't get they're not so expressive that way.
Yeah.
So when you have some games and they can see that, hey, we scored 7 out of 10 in that game. So you tell me about the cat. You're a cat person. So at least it
you're looking for commonality, aren't you? You're
giving engenders compatibility and commonality.
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting because in sort of the offline world, those kind of exist in many contexts. If you go to an event, the event organizer will put on food, and then people will gather around the food, and people will eat and talk, and maybe they start talking about food, or they talk about the weather. It's that very sort of easy. Nobody's throwing any difficult questions out there. Nobody's getting rejected early on, or do you like the hummus, or do you like the carrots, or whatever.
No pressure.
Exactly. Yeah. But those exist, right, in the real world. Even playing games, those kind of exist in these sort of events and so on. So you're sort of creating that step between like salam.
Yeah.
And then I like you, step 10. You're trying to put in those intermediate steps to help people along.
Yeah.
And I guess as well in traditional communities as well, maybe those intermediate steps don't exist so much because a lot maybe is prepared for you, or it's more of a formal setting and so on. And maybe they don't have those kind of skills as well.
That's right. My secret sauce is also in my compatibility meter, because what I intend to also do is to steer our users away from shallow waters. What that means is, instead of just browsing, just choosing people based on the looks, you can play with the compatibility meter. So you'll know, out of 100, how do you rate? How do you get along with each other? How compatible are you? So those are based on values, your interests, your personality, your aspirations, and also location-based. How near are you to that person? Because sometimes you can fulfill all the 4 out of 5, but let's say this gentleman is based out of Lebanon.
Yeah.
And you're in Singapore. How do you make that work, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So sometimes, knowing the location of the person is also equally important.
Yeah.
So that's why at this stage I intend to just start with my backyard, Southeast Asia, Nusantara. So where there is, like I said, 50 million Muslim singles looking for an alternative to end their loneliness. So we'll be launching in Singapore, Malaysia, and we have also come up the second version. We have also come up with the Bahasa Indonesia version. So this is new. This is exciting.
So what's it in now? All in English? Or?
Currently, it's all in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I want to ask you, we talked about your team already, and then the journey of Joompa as well. Maybe we can just jump back in. You can help us out understand the who's who. So you've already mentioned one of your team.
Friends,
your technical wing, if you like, of the company. So if we can jump forward to slide 11.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about who's in the team. You've got 3 people here.
So Abi is my CTO.
Yeah.
And Haziq is my husband.
Okay.
Of 21 years, but I've known him for 30.
Yeah.
So he knows me like the back of his hand, right?
He should do.
So his background is in business strategy and business growth. He has a PhD in Islamic finance. So, he's the person that I consult to include the permissible elements in my dating or matchmaking app.
Yeah.
He has also been a mentor to several pre-accelerator programs in Malaysia. So I count on him to help me grow the business.
Let me ask you, I'm going to ask you stupid questions. Would you therefore only consider investors who had some kind of Muslim credentials? Muslim credentials, obviously, but, beat me down if that sounds stupid, but I don't understand what would be acceptable in this sort of format, because you talked about Islamic finance, and in certain contexts, that would only be acceptable for certain companies, right? Yeah. Are you only looking for Muslim investors or not?
Not at all. What we are doing is, it's a social networking platform, right? So it is not, you don't have to ensure that the people who are investing are Muslims. It would be nice, but it's not necessary at all. So I think who I'm looking for are investors who can see the potential of me taking this business into the global Muslim economy, which is set to be 2.6 trillion by 2020. So I am at the cusp of that industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody can spot the opportunity,
That's right. Yeah. So it's an interesting space to be in. It's very niche. But the Muslim economy is growing rapidly. And since this is my expertise and this is my backyard, it is the right time for me to do something about it.
Okay, good. I had to ask just to clarify as well. I'm going to talk about your raise as well in a minute. You must have faced some kind of criticism, because I imagine you're a woman, you're involved in Muslim dating. I imagine that at some point people must have said, you know, this doesn't add up. I mean, have you faced criticism? I don't understand. I mean, I'm sure really orthodox communities may have really frowned upon what you're doing, as they would have done, you know, in non-Muslim communities. I don't think it's just a Muslim thing, right? You know, any kind of online dating attracts criticism. How has that been for you? Has it been present? How have you dealt with it? And where do you think that sort of falls long term?
I think I am very focused on the energy that I give to, you know, the outside world. That means I'm very focused on what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I know what's permissible. I know what's not permissible. Criticism is going to be part and parcel of being an entrepreneur. You know, some people will agree with you. Some people will not. Some people say there's no such thing as Muslim dating. Some people say, you know, this is not allowed at all. But, you know, that's 80% of people who are struggling, you know, and I know, because I'm on the ground listening to their stories every single day, how difficult it is for them to find a Muslim husband or Muslim wife, or people who want to re-enter the dating scene or matchmaking scene after they have ended their previous marriage, right? So I know what's on the ground. So the naysayers are always going to be there, but I think I'm very focused on the solution that I'm providing, and we'll see after we launch whether it was worth the fight. You know?
Absolutely. You've got to fight. I mean, in any part of the endeavor of being an entrepreneur, you're going to face criticism. And if you don't, then you're not doing something right. I think that, you know, if you don't have people who criticize what you do, then you're probably not making a difference, right?
And you can also view the criticism as constructive if they are telling you something that could benefit the people who are using it. I think it has to be viewed positively. Yeah. And what you can do as an entrepreneur is to always innovate and include elements that you may have missed out from the outset. I think I've been in business for 15 years, so
You've heard it all before.
I've heard it all, or I've gone through them all, and this is just you know, a new venture that's going to take me on a different trajectory altogether.
Absolutely. And even, you know, talk about positivity. The criticism may just reconfirm why that 80% are feeling like this, because there may be people or ideas that are holding people back from, you know, like you say, you know, realizing happiness, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, that's what it's about, being happy.
Being happy and finding that fulfillment in a relationship.
Absolutely. That's what we all want at the end of the day, right? To the ask, let's have a look at slide 10 in the pitch deck. Obviously, depending on when people listen to this conversation or watch it, this is liable to change. So we're talking as of March 2019. Yeah. Where are we now? You've already had a success.
300,000.
Yeah, so you've raised 300 Sing
dollars.
You've raised 300,000. How much more have you got to go?
250,000. So another 300,000 in order to officially launch the platform in 3 different countries. So the money is going to be used for the marketing, online and offline marketing, and, you know, to have presence, to leave my footprint in 3 different countries. And hopefully with more, we can also go into Brunei. Yeah. So at this point of time, it is for the marketing purposes, and then later, you know, this is the pre-Series A stage.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So I've already raised the seed at 300,000.
Right. So you've raised 300 seed. Yeah. So in the current round, that's not, 300 is not, just so I can put it out there, investors will want to ask, the 300 is not in the current round. No. So this is a new round, and you're raising another 300. Okay. And that is to expand into new markets. Yes. So I can understand, you are based here in Singapore.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and then where would that 300 take you? Because Singapore is a very small market, right? Obviously, obviously you're involved in other markets. Yeah. Indonesia, Malaysia,
and Singapore. Yeah. So and a little bit more would go into Brunei.
Brunei. Yes. Okay. Excellent. Good. And how long do you think that will last you?
Before my Series A, which is perhaps 9 months down the road. Okay. Yeah, another 9 months.
All right, so that should last you to the end of the year, roughly. Yes. I mean, I don't want to sort of ambush you with like, commit on air, but, you know, obviously this is all due to change, just so I can understand. So you've got about 9 months of runway there.
9 months of runway.
And you've got the big launch as well coming up in, was it June? Hari Raya?
Yes.
Okay, great. And so you've mentioned the kind of, you know, what opportunity that this is for investors. You aren't just looking for money, I guess. You're looking for people who maybe can bring some skills and ideas to the team that you have here.
That's right.
Anything in particular that you're looking for? Not just the dumb money. You're looking for people who can maybe open doors or people who have experience in certain areas. What would be interesting to you?
I have somebody who's on my advisory team already, and I met him at an accelerator program that I attended in Menlo Park in Silicon Valley last year. So he was the person behind Christian Mingle and AmericanSingle.com. So he has exited, the business already. So he's on my team, advisory team, to help me give ideas on how to take it to the next level. But of course, when we bring in new partners or new investment, that person or that company must be able to see what I see, and we have to work in tandem and work cooperatively in a harmonious manner. I don't want just any money. I want to be able to get support in finance, meaning they can give me ideas and suggestions on how to really take care of the finances, spend money wisely. So I want smart money in that sense. So, they can advise me whether I'm overspending or underspending in certain areas. And they must have, exited a couple of times perhaps in the startup space. So I'm looking for a collaborator rather than just money to grow my business.
I think you have to, because money is out there. There's no shortage of capital in the startup scene here at the moment.
That's nice to know.
Definitely, and I think with good ideas as well. It's all out there. The challenge is finding smart money. And would they have to come from the dating or platform space or online? Is there any requirements there?
Not
Obviously,
necessarily.
It's a bonus.
Yeah, not necessarily. I have spoken with people who have put money in the dating apps and they're not seeing any return just yet. So sometimes they are staying away from investing in the social networking site because they have not exited or they have not seen an exit just yet. But for me, I think it's very important for them to understand that I am operating in the Muslim economy. So it's completely different from what the mainstream platforms are trying to do. So we already have advertisers coming in. I had Nippon Paint, I had Malindo Air and Lion Air who are on board with me. So
I was curious about that Nippon Paint. I didn't understand the relevance.
Okay. Muslims are very house proud.
Right.
And, we like to make our homes beautiful every Hari Raya, or, we are just always taking care of our home. It's our sanctuary, it's our place to rest and relax. We want to be in a beautiful place all the time. So Nippon understands the Muslim market.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, so they have come on board.
So they have no interest in dating, obviously.
No, but they see the potential.
It's a great place to get in front of.
Yeah, the demographics that we are targeting.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, a lot of Muslim families are painting their homes just before Hari Raya.
Yeah. Do it with Nippon Paint.
Do it with Nippon, And because it is a regional or Nusantara app, so working with airlines are very important as well. So they are the people movers, right, around the region. So being seen on Malindo or Lion Air are equally critical for me.
Great. Well, you heard it here. That was Anisa Hassan, the self-proclaimed Asia's ultimate matchmaker. But I think you probably are winning that title if you've done how many 1,000 marriages so far?
1,000 marriages.
You're 7,000 in on the users for Joompa. 50 million people in the markets that you're targeting. So there's a long way to go, but it's great. There's a lot of headroom in that market, right?
50 million in Southeast Asia only.
Okay, all right. Let's start there. That's enough.
Yeah.
Start, but exactly. I mean, the wider market is, another, multitude of that as well, right? So, okay, it's been fascinating, and thank you for helping us understand the market that you're dealing with as well, and sharing your journey with us, Anisa.
Thank you so much.
It's great, and having so much enthusiasm and positivity for what you do, I think it's absolutely needed. It's a big challenge ahead. What would be the best way for people to reach out for you? Anybody that's listening, they may be, for example, it's not just investors, but also people who want to join startups. It's a great way for them to find, projects that they want to be involved in, and often they see a founder and they hear the story and think, yeah, I want to be part of that journey. They don't go to the job websites, they come here
directly,
because that's why they work for a startup, because of the founder, right?
That's right.
So you might have those people as well as potential sponsors even. So what's the best way to reach out to you?
I think I have always made myself accessible online. So you can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram. So you can just find Anisa Hassan, or you can shoot me an email at anisa@datehighflyers.com.
Awesome. Anisa, thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's been great.
Yeah, love it.